This is The Pet Show with America's favorite pet expert, Warren Eckstein. Warren's the author of How to Get Your Dog to Do What You Want, How to Get Your Cat to Do What You Want, and he's here to answer all your pet and animal questions. Now, say hello to Warren Eckstein.
And welcome once again to The Pet Show. Is your beagle acting a little bashful? Does your Persian seem a little bit paranoid? Are your Frenchies ready for some Freud on top of my couch? Well, if you love your dogs and adore your cats, I know you do, and really, really want to understand them almost as well as they understand you, if you really want to get inside your dog or cat's head and figure out why they behave the way they do, you know what to do, right? Stay tuned, because once again, right here, right now, it is time for The Pet Show. That's right, America and Canada's first and only real pet psychology, pet training, pet behavior, and of course, pet lifestyle show. So hop up on my couch. Bring those furry little buddies with you, folks. It is that time once again to let the animal analyzing begin. Hello, everyone. I'm Warren Eckstein. This is The Pet Show, the place where we absolutely, positively, never a doubt about it, love, adore, and as I've been stressing every week for the last 48 years, respect pets as much as you do. By the way, if you want to join me on the ever-growing Pet Show family, and you want to find out why your dog may be jumping or digging, or your cat is scratching, not using the litter box, doesn't get along with the other cats in the household, your dog hates your new boyfriend, you took your dog for a walk and he pulled you down the block, your cat peed on your bed, your dog's humping everything inside, you get the idea, right? That's what this show is all about. Helping people like you resolve any issues that you may be having with your dogs and cats, but a whole lot more likely any issues your dogs and cats are having with you. If you have a question or a comment and want to share a great story about your dog or cat, even if it's a story about a rescue dog or cat, great time to give me a call. The phone number here at the Pet Show, 877-725-8255. That's 877-725-8255. I will take your calls and help you resolve some issues. Let me tell you what I have planned for today's show. However, if you're a regular listener to the Pet Show, as well you should be, you know by now that I'm never going to get to all my topics. Why? Because your questions and your comments always take priority. But I put together some interesting topics I want to talk about on today's show, stuff you may not ask about, but stuff I think it's important for you to know. So let me tell you what I have planned for today's show. But again, your questions and your comments are always first. I'm just laughing to myself because I see one of my topics for later, not one of the topics I'm going to share right now, is you ever notice what direction your dog faces when he poops? See, these are the things that keep me up at night. Well, I got the answer to that coming up, and you may be surprised. But let me tell you some of the real topics coming up on today's show. Is your dog a nudge? I think that's a Jewish word, nudge, nudge, nudge. Or should I say, is your dog always nudging you? And does your dog nudge his nose really mean? What does it really mean when your dog comes over and puts his nose in you? How many times, as a guy, have I been doubled over by a dog coming over and nudging me? Not a happy spot. Well, it happens. Coming up, I want you to understand why your dog may be so nosy and what that's all about. The nudge dog, or the nudging dog, coming up on the Pet Show. Again, that number, 877-725-8255, 877-725-8255. Also coming up on today's show, you know, I talk about my training background a lot, having trained pretty much on every continent, and something that's rarely talked about. Everyone, train your dog, train your dog, train your dog. But is it possible that you're training your dogs way too much? Is your dog suffering with something we call training fatigue? It's a real thing, folks. You know, and it's real important for a trainer or behaviorist to notice, as well as an owner like yourself or a guardian, to notice if, in fact, their dog is suffering with training fatigue. And what often happens, if the dog is suffering with training fatigue and you as their guardian is not getting the reaction you want to get, you start suffering with that training fatigue as well. So we're going to take a real in-depth look at training fatigue. What are the signs to look for if you may be overtraining your dog? And I know a lot of people say, can you possibly overtrain your dog? And I think the answer is going to be a resounding yes. We'll talk about that coming up. Also, you know, I love cats. I don't have a cat at the moment, but I've had as many as 32 cats at one time. Yeah, you heard me right. 32 cats at one time. 30 dogs, 6 chickens, 6 ducks, Two 1,200. Oh yeah, the whole array. It was my own little sanctuary in upstate New York. I love cats. I just don't have one at the moment for several different reasons. But first of all, you never have a cat. They have you. Let's get that straight right off the bat. But so many cats are fearful. So many cats are afraid. Is your cat one of those scaredy cats? Is your cat afraid of everything? The door closes, the TV's too loud, someone comes in. This can make life not so fun for your feline buddies. Helping the fearful cat coming up on the show today. We're going to take a look at that. It's real important stuff. How many people have called me over the years and said, listen, when people come over, my dog comes out and he plays with them and he's friendly and he's having a good time. But when people come over, my cat runs and it hides. What is that all about? Why does my cat hide? Why is he so fearful? We'll explain that coming up. And a good part of it, by the way, is your fault. Think about this. You have a puppy and you have a kitten. Your friend comes over to the house, right? And that friend sits down and the kitten takes off and the puppy takes off. Chances are you'll go get the puppy and bring him out to socialize with that person. But a lot of people say, oh, that's a cat. That's what cats do. Not true. Cats can be just as social as dogs. Anyone who, again, has been owned by a cat will agree with me. So we're going to take a look at scaredy cats and how to build up that confidence, turning your cat into Arnold Schwarzenegger. Also coming up, plenty of time to answer your questions and your comments. And I love your comments as well. So if your pet happens to be chewing, jumping, confused about the litter box, that rescued cat is a little confused, that beautiful dog you took out of the shelter isn't totally housebroken, poor guy suffering with separation anxiety, maybe even depression, or your cat scratched your favorite chair and your dog literally believes that if he sees it, he's got to hump it, give me a call. 877-725-8255, 877-725-8255. That is the way to get through to the Pet Show. Lots of good stuff coming up on today's show. So if you have a question or comment, great time to call me. Just want to take a moment. Yesterday was Veterans Day, and as a veteran myself, I went to this incredible, where I live now in Arizona. I mean, what a patriotic state this is. I went to this incredible meeting. I don't know what other word. Hundreds of people and part of a veterans club where I live, which by the way I belong to, and it was just amazing. They had a group of singers there called the Troubadours that were singing patriotic music. And I told you last week I'm a George M. Cohan fanatic, so if I hear patriotic music or the song American Soldier, it just breaks me. Anyway, it was a great event. I was so proud and so happy to see people. Some were there that served in World War II. Some, like myself, Vietnam-era veterans. Some Korean veterans. And it was just amazing to see the ages of the people from 95 to 100 to their great grandkids. Just an amazing event, and just my wish and respect to all veterans out there. Again, the number 877-725-8255, 877-725-8255. So, as I said, plenty of time for your calls. And, that scaredy cat that we're going to talk about later, it drives me crazy. A name dropper that I am. I remember years ago doing a segment. I was training David Letterman's two dogs, Bob and Stan at the time. And Dave said, too bad you can't do that with cats. And I said, what do you mean I can't do that with cats? You think cats are stupider than dogs? And he said, well, they're not as smart as dogs. I said, Dave, let me ask you a question. I am not a pro-circus. I'm very anti-circus. But you go to a circus and you see a lion or a tiger trained. And yet you come home and you assume that your cat can't be trained. One of the first books I wrote was How to Get Your Cat to Do What You Want. I'm changing the name to How to Get Your Owner to Do What You Want. Cats are so smart that I believe they convince people that they can't be trained just so we get off their case. I really do believe that. So we're going to talk about cats coming up. And by the way, to prove my point, one of my rescue cats, Maudie, when I say rescue cats, she rescued me. Somehow she wound up in my house. I don't know how. She wound up there. And I spent some time with her. And I taught her how to walk on a leash and harness and sit and come. And I brought her on the Letterman show. And it shut Dave up. Not an easy thing to do, but it shut Dave up for a little bit. 877-725-8255, the phone number. Let me take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll get to some of your calls and find out if your dog is a nudge. Nudge. And what does your dog's nudging really mean? 877-725-8255.
Everybody tells me that it's cool to be a cat.
Man, it is so cool to be a cat, but not if you're a scaredy cat. And we're going to talk about scaredy cats a little bit later. The phone number here at the Pet Show, 877-725-8255. Speaking of cats, how about we take our first phone call today and we go to my friend Darren. Hey, Darren, welcome to the show.
My cat, my 11-year-old Himalayan cat, stopped using the litter box, and he's using the kitchen sink. I don't know how to stop it.
Okay, well, a couple of things going on here, Darren. Number one, it's an 11-year-old cat, which is still kind of not that old. But anytime you have a cat that changes the way it uses the litter box, it always kind of concerns me a little bit. Is there something going on, an infection, something else going on in the house? So all of those things have to be taken into consideration. So my first thing to you is a quick call to the vet to make sure there's nothing going on physiologically with the cat. And chances are there's not. Something in the house kind of triggered this. However, I want you to understand it is very, very common for a cat to want to pee either in a sink or in a bathtub. Couple of things going on here. Number one, there's always scents coming out. Even though we've drained the sink and even though we've drained the bathtub, there's always scents coming out, which sometimes, if the scent is a little different, can cause the cat to go over to the sink and pee in the sink. Not a great watch, but that's what they do sometimes, or sometimes in a bathtub as well. If I had to answer as many questions about cats that pee in people's bathtubs, and I tried to come up with all different ways. First of all, as I said, number one, we want to make sure that the cat is healthy. Number two, we haven't made any changes with the cat. And here's the critical thing. I would at least do this. Temporarily put down a second litter box, not too far away from the first litter box, 6 inches, 8 inches, whatever. Then what I would do for the next couple of days, and again, this is once provided the cat is healthy, take about 3 or 4 inches of water and leave it in the bottom of the sink. Man, am I a genius. With 3 or 4 inches in the bottom of the sink, or if you have a cat that's peeing in your bathtub, folks, it works as well. Leave 3 or 4 inches on the bottom of the bathtub as well. And when the cat goes in there and they realize they're in water, usually they jump right out, litter box, here I come. So those are a couple of things you can do. There are other things that we can do also. Corrective, we can put some double stick tape down, but we're not going to go that far. If the cat is healthy, and I'm assuming 11 years old, she's pretty healthy, Darren. If that is the fact, then what I would recommend doing is just leaving 3, 4, maybe 5 inches of water in the sink for a couple of days. Put the litter box, the new litter box, next to the other litter box. See if that does resolve it for you. And I promise you'll be cooking in the kitchen once again. It really is. A lot of people just, thank you, Darren. A lot of people just don't understand the behavior. And very often when they have a cat or a dog that's doing something entirely different, what they try to do is they try to focus strictly on correcting. Now, you notice with Darren, the first thing I said was make sure the cat is healthy. Make sure there's been no major changes in the household. New girlfriend, new boyfriend, new furniture, new carpeting. You had your car. Anything can throw the cat, or maybe you change your litter. But as I said, once the cat is healthy, put some water in the tub or water in the sink, and I promise you, you'll be absolutely fine. Hey, the phone number here at the Pet Show, 877-725-8255. 877-725-8255. That is the way to get through to the show. So I know I teased it at the beginning. I teased the fact of whether or not you understood that the direction your dog pees in is really kind of interesting. So let me kind of share. Well, first of all, there's a couple of real interesting pee things. Let me share this with you guys. You know, dogs and cats peeing, that's part of my life, guys. Do you ever think about this? And this is also important. It's not about peeing, but it's about your cats. Because sometimes if they're not getting the mental stimulation, and people don't often, you hear me talk about paper bags all the time to stimulate your cats and cardboard boxes. But the question comes up, and this is something I learned in Europe. Does your cat prefer a vertical or horizontal scratching post? That's the question. Because if you give them the right one, you may be saving your chair. Most cats, and most of the cats I've worked with over the years, literally prefer vertical scratching posts. Go to the pet store, go to Chewy, go to Petco. you'll see that the majority of cat scratching posts are vertical scratching posts. But some cats literally prefer using horizontal scratching posts, which are also available, or you can make your own. So the question comes, hey, Warren, they always start that way. Hey, Warren, how can you tell whether your cat prefers a horizontal scratching post or a vertical scratching post? I pondered this question over and over and over and over again to come up with the right answer for you guys in a real technical manner. So to find out whether or not your cat prefers a vertical or horizontal post, listen to the behaviorist. Put down both. Let him choose which one he likes better. Top secret information. The phone number here at the Pet Show, 877-725-8255, 877-725-8255. Quick break, then right back to your phone calls. I'm Warren Eckstein, and you're listening to The Pet Show. Got to admit it, Beatles never sounded so good. They never sounded so good. We are back on The Pet Show. I'm Warren Eckstein. The phone number 877-725-8255, 877-725-8255. You know, as a behaviorist, not only do I have to watch the dog's head, but I got to watch the dog's butt as well. Because the way a dog poops can tell you an awful lot about the behavior. Hear me out on this one. Have you ever noticed your dog poops in a certain direction? Well, there's more to this than commonly strange behavior than meets the eye. Here you go. It's believed that our dog friends tune into the magnetic field of the Earth, facing the North or South Pole when going to the bathroom. Dogs tend to favor the North or South axis when they do their business versus East and West. This secret sixth sense enables our dogs to feel the magnetic field of the Earth, proving they can tune into something we can as people. So the next time you take your dog for a walk, leave the compass at home. The dog will tell you if you're heading north or south. I talked about this before, and it is in fact so true that dogs do have a tendency to poop in a north and south direction. They really do. And then someone asked following that question, hey, Warren, why does the dog circle before he poops? Well, these are the things, again, that I love to share with you guys. If a dog circles before they poop, here's why. When they're in the process of eliminating, they're very vulnerable for attack by any predators that might be out there. So what they do generally, and this is kind of accepted, is they'll circle, kind of trying to find the wind direction at the same time as the direction. So if anything is approaching from behind them, they know it, and they can react accordingly. It's more about dog poop than anyone needs to know, but I thought I'd share it with you anyway. 877-725-8255. Let's go to my friend Pamela. Hey, Pamela, welcome to the Pet Show.
My doggie's name is Angel. She's a rescue dog. We've had her a year, actually, this coming week. Question is, she licks the floor constantly, even when I clean the floor.
You know,
every floor throughout the house. I'm calling from Florida, Boynton Beach, Florida. She was a rescue dog. What we understand is that they found her on the streets of Delray. So maybe she was constantly going around looking for food. But she licks. Even after she's done eating, she'll be going around the whole house licking the floor.
Well, licking is kind of common, so hear me out on this one. A dog licking the floor every once in a while is pretty common and nothing to worry about. Dogs experience life through licking. Plus, maybe you drop some tasty piece of food on the floor and your dog licks it in an attempt to pick it up. However, in your case, it's a little bit different. If the licking is in fact persistent and occurs several times a day, chances are there's something more serious that may be going on. So let me share this with you, okay? Number one, There are three basic reasons for excessive licking of the floor. Number one, it could be a medical, which I'll go over with you. Number two, it could be behavioral, which I'll go over with you. And number three, something called ELS, excessive licking of floors. I know it sounds stupid, but there's actually a term for that, and your vet would deal with that, and that's not your situation. Very rare. So what are some of the medical reasons for your dog licking the floor? And I don't think it's a medical reason with your dog either. Either it's nutritional, maybe they're not digesting their food properly, or maybe, as you said, as a stray on the street, it has this habit it developed of licking to survive, whether it be getting some water from the street or food, or it could be some type of gastrointestinal pain as well. And there's other medical reasons as well. So, number one, you want to rule out any medical reasons. But as a behaviorist, there's a lot of reasons as well. The fact that this was a rescue dog, and bless you, bless you, bless you for rescuing this dog. Boredom, boredom, boredom. I know you love the dog, but boredom is a good possibility. This dog was roaming the streets. It was a lot more exciting, perhaps. A bored dog will do anything to keep itself entertained. In some cases, that actually includes licking the floor consistently. Stress, and I think this is the reality. Stress by unusual noises, fireworks, car traffic, a toaster. This dog was on the street. These sounds in your home may be different. He's not used to the smells in your house. He's not used to the sounds in your house. So the licking is kind of a way of alleviating stress. It goes back to early puppyhood. The first thing a mother pup dog does when the pups are born is lick them to clean them off, and then licks them as a comforting effect. So when a dog is feeling stressed out, licking is pretty constant. But sometimes it's not licking themselves or not licking their owners, which occurs an awful lot. But licking the floor. Now, the other thing I would take into consideration is you said the dog was about a year or so old, so his mouth is probably in good shape. But very often, if there's any pain in the mouth, gum pain, tooth pain, that can provoke licking as well. So there are a lot of reasons. Bless you again for taking him in. I don't think it's a medical reason. Next time you go to the vet, check it out. Boredom and stress, increase the activity, increase the mental stimulation, make your backyard a lot more interesting. Make sure you hide all kinds of items all over the house to distract them from the licking. One of the things we don't want to do is yell at them for that, because that's going to make them more anxious or more bored. So what you do is just try to encourage the environment to be more entertaining for the dog, and I think that will help you resolve the problem. Great question, by the way, Pamela. A lot of people would assume that just because their dog is licking, it's no big deal. But as I said, it could be a medical reason. Chances are, with a dog like this, it's probably more of a behavioral reason. If the dog was roaming the streets, we don't know if he was abused. We don't know what kind of stresses he went through. So you didn't say how long you've had him. Maybe you did. I didn't hear. But in terms of how long you've had him, can make a difference as well. But follow my advice, and hopefully the licking will dissipate. Don't yell at him. Don't correct him. And also, what I would recommend doing is take him on sniff vacations. Take him to different neighborhoods. Take him on different walks. Let him fill his senses with the outside again, so when he comes inside, he feels more comfortable. Great question, Pamela. Give that pup a big hug for me. Hey, the phone number here at the Pet Show, 877-725-8255. 877-725-8255. We're going to take some more calls coming up. You know, when I was talking earlier, and I started talking about this, and I just wanted to bring it up again for a second or two. The question often comes up, and I was talking about dogs knowing magnetic fields, and people say, come on, really, Warren? Yeah, well, they do. How do you think certain dogs can find their way home, or certain cats can find their way home from miles, miles, and miles away? They're so in tune. I remember a couple of indications where, number one, they pick up on the magnetic fields, which I believe in. Number two, is some behavior, and this was kind of far-fetched, but some behaviors when I was studying in Europe suggested to me that dogs at night kind of look up at the sky, and they associate. Dogs learn through association. So the suggestion came up that maybe the dogs actually can pick up on astronomical signs that are in the sky, and maybe that helps them find their way home. We'll never really actually know, but all we can say is it's a good thing. Again, the phone number here at the Pet Show, 877-725-8255, 877-725-8255. That is the way to get to it. I want to focus a little bit. Maybe we'll run out of time, but then we'll come back to it. Is your cat a scaredy cat? How can you help that fearful kitty? While fear is generally considered a normal emotional response in cats, that typically helps them avoid dangers from situations or predators. So very often, because cats are small and they can be very vulnerable, their response to being scared of things is a response of surviving. However, there are certain cases when excessive fear can cause behavioral problems as well as distress and other negative outcomes. So if you have a cat that's afraid, keep a chart. Write it down. Have the family write it down. What are the things that seem to freak your cat out the most? Is it loud noises? Is it watching Seinfeld? Is the car backfiring? Is it the vacuum cleaner? What is it that's actually making your cat fearful? We'll talk about that. Let me take a quick break here. We'll talk about that when we come back. Continue answering your questions, and we will get to my friend. We're going to get to my friend Gary. We're going to get to my friend Lance, and we'll also get to my friend Cat. Actually, I love my dog a little more than I love you. We are back on the Pet Show. I'm Warren Eckstein. Great time to call me, 877-725-8255. Before that last break, I was talking about scaredy cats and what can actually make them afraid or make them fearful. And no one wants a scaredy cat. I want my cats to be part of the family. Come on out, hug me, kiss me, watch TV, share dinner, whatever. Here are some things. Once you try to figure out, and it could take the entire family, once you try to figure out what's causing the cat to freak out, is it being around people? Then you have to really desensitize or counter condition. So, for example, if your cat is fearful of human voices other than your own, record human voices. Record your friends. Record other people. Play it at a low volume over a period of time, increasing it gradually over weeks. And every time they put it on, the cat's something positive. He gets a treat, a hug, a kiss, whatever. That will help him understand the sound of people more. Once he understands the sound, he's going to be less fearful. So that's one of the ways. If it was the fear of, let's say, a fear of thunderstorms, you can download the sound of a thunderstorm. Now, I got this question not too long ago. Warren, my cat freaks out. We just had a baby, a brand new baby in the house. And there's a lot of issues with my cat, but I want to focus on this one. All of a sudden, when my cat hears the baby crying, he runs away. He's petrified of that. Well, to the cat, the baby crying may sound like another cat that's being assertive or aggressive. So, you have 9 months to prepare your cat for a baby, right? Download the sound of a baby crying. They're all over I think we have one on my website. They're all over the internet. And again, desensitize the cat to that sound. Could be a thunderstorm, could be a baby crying, could be, I had to do that when I got my first Harley Davidson with my dogs. Record it and desensitize and counter condition them for that as well. So what you need to do is find out what's triggering your cat to be afraid. What's making your cat fearful? Once you figured out what's making your cat fearful, then all you need to do is control it in a positive way. Increase the sounds a little bit at a time and build up that cat's confidence. You know, cats don't want to run away when people come over. Cats are a lot more social than people give them credit for. They just have that inert fear that something bad's going to happen because that's how generationally they've survived over the years. They're small. Let's face it, they're small. And they need, so how to deal with a fraidy cat. That's what you need to do. The phone number, 877-725-8255, 877-725-8255. Let's go to my friend Gary, calling from beautiful Chula Vista, California. Hey, Gary, welcome to the Pet Show.
Warren, I'd like to know when is a good time to get a dog after a dog we've had for many years passes on to the Rainbow Bridge. I don't know how much time we should leave for that, but I want to be sensitive to what our needs are. No, we can't replace our dog, but
Yeah.
we want to invite a new one into our home. How long should we wait?
Well, I'm so glad. It's a great question, and I will answer it. But just to kind of tie into that, what was the famous football player? Tom Brady just had his dog cloned. I am 100%, 1000% against that. Do you know how many millions of dogs are in shelters that need homes every year? Why would you clone and not go and adopt or rescue a dog? It's kind of interesting. So Tom Brady, I love the way you play football, but I'm not a big fan of cloning dogs. I don't think it's a great idea when so many dogs and cats need a home. The number here at the Pet Show, 877-725-8255, 877-725-8255. Let me take a break. When we come back, I will tell you, Gary in Chula Vista, California, when the time is right to bring a new pet into your household. I'm Warren Eckstein. This is the Pet Show. And we are back on the Pet Show. My caller, Gary, was asking me about when it's time to get another dog when their dog crosses the Rainbow Bridge. It's a very individual thing. The most important thing I can tell you is that rescuing a dog will help you ease the pain. But more importantly is when you go and adopt a new dog or a new cat after a dog or cat passes away, it's real important that you don't make any comparisons. That's the worst thing you can do. You've had the other dog for years and you've fallen in love with the other dog and the dog crossed the Rainbow Bridge. It's devastating. For some people, they say to me, I can never get another dog because the pain is too hard. For other people, I tell them, yeah, go get another dog when you're ready. It's a hard question to answer because it's such an individual desire. Sit down with the family. Sometimes you don't have to make that decision. Sometimes that decision is made for you. Go to the shelters, go to the rescues. When you're ready, that dog will come into your life, Gary, I promise. 877-725-8255. I'm Warren Eckstein. This is The Pet Show.
Your cat missed the box. Your ferret's chewed up all your favorite socks. You sure knows how to get inside your pet's head. But maybe it's you who needs to be trained instead.
And if you love your dogs and your cats, you have come to the right place. I'm Warren Eckstein. This is The Pet Show. If you have a question or want to share a great comment about your dog or cat or want to find out where they're peeing, jumping, mounting, humping, pulling you down the block, not getting along with other pets, give me a call. Phone number here at the Pet Show, 877-725-8255, 877-725-8255. Coming up in this hour, besides answering your questions, is your dog a nudge? I think nudge is a Yiddish word meaning a pain in the butt. Is that what it means? I think so. Anyway, a lot of dogs are nudgers. So we're going to talk about that. And as a behaviorist and a trainer, and I'm sure some of my fellow men out there have been doubled over more than once by a dog nudging them in the groin. You know you have. Admit it. So why do dogs nudge? Why are they so nosy and what you can do about it? That coming up as well. And also something as a... having trained in pretty much every continent that I had to share with you guys. We always talk about training. We need more training for our dogs. We need to train our dogs more. But what about overtraining? Is there such a thing as training fatigue? What is training fatigue? What is that all about? Can you overtrain your dog? And by overtraining your dog, you're actually costing yourself training fatigue at the same time. We're going to talk about that in a little while. And I got to be honest with you, with the tens of thousands of dogs I've worked with over the years, very often you get this real enthusiastic person. And I love them for their enthusiasm, but they overdo it. Every minute with the dog's being trained. Sit, stay, down, roll over, speak for a lot. No. We'll talk about that coming up. But right now, can we talk a little bit about why your dog is nudging you? I have one too. You know, I have two rescue dogs right now, Molly and Willie. They were in a real high kill shelter in LA when I adopted them. We see they were both pretty much abused, not only physically, but kind of behaviorally and psychological abuse, which is something a lot of people don't talk about. And one of them, Willie, is a nudger. Luckily, he's small, so he only nudges my ankle. Otherwise, I'd be doubled over all the time. But let's take a look at it. If you've ever noticed or wondered why your dog nudges you with his nose, it may seem like a simple gesture, but there are actually several reasons why dogs do that. This is what keeps me up. Communication. If you have a nudging dog, it's their way of saying, hey, pay some attention to me. I'm in this room too, Turn off the TV, put the computer down, get rid of the cell phone. Pay some attention to me. So if you have a dog that's coming over and nudging you all the time, nudging you nonstop, maybe it's you're not paying enough attention to them at the right times. What about affection? We all want our dogs to be more affectionate, don't we? I get this call all the time. Dogs are known for being affectionate animals. They love us. And nudging you or me or their owners with their nose is one way of showing their love. So the next time the dog comes over and nudges you, I love you back. That's what I say to my dogs. I can correct it, but why? Why? It's like the kid coming for a hug and you tell him to go away. Now, here's something behaviorally I deal with pretty consistently. Seeking comfort. If you have a rescue dog that's nudging, or a dog maybe that's been abused or neglected, nudging you with their nose is kind of their way to seek reassurance and comfort from you. First of all, the dog's sense of smell is incredible. So nudging you gives them the opportunity of picking up on a lot of different scents you're throwing off as well. But if you have that rescue dog or that dog that's been through a lot, nudging you all the time, you probably just need some reassurance and some love. Now, the other thing is exploration. As I just said, dogs have an absolutely amazing nose. They're olfactory. That's why we are to teach them to. I talked about this before. I trained the first dog to sniff out seizures in people, epileptic seizure. I trained the first woman to have a dog respond to that in Massachusetts. God, this was 79 or 80. So it's kind of using a dog's nose is also very important to understand how strong it is. And they explore. So a lot of times it could be playfulness. They're using the nose to pick up different smells on your body. And believe me, we have a lot of scents on our body that we're not aware of because our nose doesn't know as well as the dog's nose. And the other thing is attention seeking. Nudging you with their nose can also be their way to strengthen their bond with you. So there are many reasons that your dog may be nudging. And I guess here's where you, my listeners, and many of you have been listening to the show for almost 50 years, I guess. Here's where we differ than a lot of people in my profession. They would focus on, stop your dog from nudging. This is how you control your dog from nudging. Listen, I've trained dogs for the highest training possible. But if nudging makes them feel better in my house, nudge away, guys, nudge away. That's what I say. But those are the reasons that your dog may be nudging, and some of the things you can correct it if you want. I say nudge away. The phone number, 877-725-8255, 877-725-8255. Also, I forgot to ask the question of the day. How many times a day do you ask your dog, what do you want? What do you want? 20, 10, 100. I'm always, whenever Molly and Willie, hey, what do you guys want? You want to go out? You want to play? You want something to eat? What do you guys want? How many times a day do you ask your dogs what they want? I'd love to hear from you. 877-725-8255, 877-725-8255. That is the way to get through to the Pet Show. How about we shoot over to a call? We have to take a break before we get to it, but let's go to my friend Lance. Lance is calling from Springfield, Missouri. There's a Springfield, Illinois, too, right? Springfield, Illinois. I know I did my motorcycle 66. I went to Springfield. I forget if it was Missouri or Illinois, but it was one of them. Anyway, Lance, welcome to the Pet Show.
I have 3 cats, and one of my cats has started a spraying problem, even though he's fixed. And it started 4 years ago when I left and went on vacation. And that's also about the time when he started going partially blind. That I'm at my wit's end. I don't know. I need your opinion and your input on it.
Yeah, well, first of all, there's a lot of things going on here, Lance. Number one, the cat is going blind, so he's more apt to want to mark things than a cat that is not visually challenged. That's number one. We're going to go into depth in a lot more of this as well. Also, the fact that it started about the same time he was going blind and the same time you went on vacation. You know, I'm going to take a break, Lance, and I'm going to respond to you, and I'll tell you why, because I really want to go into depthness. I get calls like this all the time. Warren, my dog is marking territory. I got a text last week from a man that was upset because his cat peed on his pillow and marked his pillow, and I had to explain to him that from the cat's point of view, it was a good thing. In your case, it's a little bit different, Lance. So we'll figure out why Lance in Springfield, Missouri's cat started spraying. Continue answering all of your questions. 877-725-8255. 877-725-8255. But let me take a quick break here, and then we'll get right back to your calls. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. We are back on the Pet Show. I'm Warren Eckstein. Phone number 877-725-8255. A lot of good stuff still coming up on today's show. We're going to take a look at overtraining. Before we do that, before the break, we were talking to my friend Lance in Springfield, Missouri. Lance has a cat that started spraying, and he was telling me that the cat had started going blind, but the marking had pretty much started when he was away on vacation. So what are the resolutions for Lance? Lance, listen to me carefully. Number one, the issue of your cat losing its sight or having challenged sight can be part of the reason. When they lose their sight and things look different to them, they might start marking in that reaction to that response. That's number one. Number two, you said you went on vacation and this is when it started. Let me explain a few things to you. Do you remember, do all of you remember the story of Hansel and Gretel? I'm showing my age right now. When they got lost, they dropped breadcrumbs to find their way home. In the cat world, they don't drop breadcrumbs. When someone they love is missing or not around, what cats tend to do, not all, but sometimes, especially with the sight and everything going on, is they'll mark. And that marking is not because they're angry. That marking is actually their breadcrumbs. And not in all cases, but in some cases, they're breadcrumbs so that Lance can, in fact, find his way home from vacation. However, once it starts, sometimes it's more difficult to stop. So, number one, as always, when you have a change in behavior like spraying, just make sure the cat is healthy. Check the environment. Are there stray cats outside? Are there possums outside? Did you make any other changes within the house? And you wouldn't have had to make changes if the cat is in fact losing its sight. Couple of things. Number one is make sure you clean up any areas where the cat is marked with a good enzymatic stain and odor remover made specifically for dogs and cats. Then I would try to encourage the cat to spend more time in a lot of places with you. That may help. If the cat seems stressed, and the stress would relate it to the losing of the sight maybe and you being away, you might want to use some of the pheromones. Now, years ago I didn't recommend these, but I've found them pretty successful so far. You can go to the pet store online and get these plug-in pheromones. And there's some other kinds as well. That might be beneficial also. So, when you have a cat that's not been spraying but all of a sudden started marking, you have to look at it from the cat's point of view. Did we leave the house? Were we away for an extended period of time? And was the cat scared, stressed out, and started marking for me to find my way home? Was the marking only due to stress and anxiety? Was the marking the cat was doing, was that related to the fact that he's losing its sight? All of those things should be taken into consideration. But first of all, and most importantly, let's make sure the cat is healthy. Great call, by the way, Lance, and give that cat a big hug and a kiss. And you know, sometimes when you have a blind cat or a blind dog, and I've worked with many, you have to get them to respond to vibrations. So maybe tapping the floor a couple of times before you feed them, or tapping the floor a couple of times before you're walking into a room, or making some other sound that they can hear. Because when they lose one scent, sometimes the other scents become a little bit stronger. So the fact that the cat is losing its sight, and I work with many, many blind cats and dogs in my life, their hearing gets a little bit better. And believe me, I've worked with enough of them where I realize, and they realize after a while, you forget that their sight is going. Anyway, give that cat a hug and a kiss. Try to understand that there's a couple of things going on. Follow my advice. Get the vet check, pheromones, put down a couple of extra litter boxes temporarily. Clean up all the areas where the cat is gone. Spend more time in those areas with the cat. The more time you spend in those areas with the cat, the less apt the cat is going to need to mark those areas. So hopefully you'll be walking around the house barefoot. This is not a major problem. It's temporary. If you follow my advice, it'll easily be resolved. Hey, the phone number here at the Pet Show, 877-725-8255, 877-725-8255. That is the way to get through. You know, a lot of my listeners, and I love you guys. We've been talking together. You've been watching me on Regis and Kathleen Today Show for 20 some odd years. When I stopped doing that, you've been listening to me radio for almost 50 years. I have the best listeners in the world. One of my listeners sent me this. I don't know who wrote it, but it really hits home. And I wanted to share it with you guys as well. And the reason I want to share it with you guys is because we have a relationship. You know, I open the show every week by saying, welcome to the Pet Show family. And I believe that. So many have been listening to me, since I was in my 20s. Yeah, a long, long time ago. But we've been friends ever since, or watching me that long. And you have hearts of gold. Listen to me carefully. November is National Adopt a Senior Pet Month. A time to shine a light on the often overlooked older pets waiting in shelters and rescues all across America. You know, being in a shelter is hard for any animal, but for seniors who may have spent decades or more with a family, the experience can be really devastating. They don't understand why. Why are they suddenly in a shelter? They're scared, confused. Tear comes to my eye, and some even shut down and lose hope. November, National Adopt a Senior Pet Month. Go to a shelter, go to a rescue, and adopt a senior dog or cat. It's one of the best things that you can do. And sadly, many senior dogs and cats are surrendered when the owners can no longer care for them, or because they have age-related issues. But behind those gray muzzles, behind those slower steps, take it from me, is a loving, loyal companion with plenty of life and love left to give. That is so, so true. Over the years, I've adopted 13 12-year-old dogs, and what a difference it has made. Phone number 877-725-8255. Are you training your dog too much? That coming up. I'm Warren Eckstein. You're listening to The Pet Show. Curious cat. Cats are curious. They really are. That's why if you live with a cat, or a dog for that matter, make sure everything around the house that's dangerous is put away. All right, so before I get to another call, as a behaviorist and a trainer for more years than I want to remember, or I do want to remember, it's been a great life. Anyway, I often get asked about behavior. My dog's doing this, my cat's doing that. You guys ask me all these questions. My dog's peeing, my cat's humping, whatever. But very few people, even in my profession, take a look at the context. What's the context of your dog or cat's behavior? I'll give you an example. Behaviors can have different meanings depending on a situation, just like with people. For example, your dog might drool and lick their lips as you're preparing dinner for them or yourself, right? Normal. Normal bodily response for your dog. Sometimes I drool when my wife's cooking. They're expecting food. They're expecting something good. So in that context, drooling is normal. But on the other hand, if your dog shows that same drooling response in a different context, such as getting into a car or getting out of a car, this could show that the dog is anxious, nervous, or worried about the car or the ride. So any good behaviorist, any good trainer, any good pet guardian like yourself really needs to understand that when you're looking at your dog or cat's behavior, context really does mean a lot. Not just the way they're behaving, but why they're behaving that way is just as important as how. Phone number here at the Pet Show, 877-725-8255. I'm going to get to my friend Kat in a little bit, but before we do that, I wanted to spend a little bit of time on training, being that's what I've been doing my entire life, right? You know, someone asked me the other day, okay, Warren. Hey, Warren. It's always hey, Warren. Have you always loved animals? When did you start training dogs? I grew up on Long Island in New York. I know I lost my accent so you wouldn't recognize it. But I was basically a very shy kid. So my concept of feeling comfort was being around animals. The running joke in my neighborhood is even the stray dogs or the dogs people let run loose in the neighborhood were trained. That's what I love to do. And if I wasn't working with them, I'd volunteer at a local vet hospital or a local rescue or humane organizations, and some of them were not so good back then. And it's kind of important to understand that your love for animals, the way you feel about animals, is so important. It really does affect you as a person. I always say that I understand people that are fearful of dogs. I understand people that are fearful of cats. What I don't understand is people that hate dogs or people that say they hate cats. I don't understand that concept. Fear I understand, hate I don't. But growing up, my life would have been so different. I probably would have been an accountant or a radio engineer. Who knows what I would have been if it wasn't for the animals making me feel as comfortable as they did. So it's important to understand that working with animals or understanding them makes all the difference in the world. So very often, I'm going to go through a list with you. For example, here are the most common questions I've been asked about pets in my career. House training. Difficulty in getting a dog to eliminate outside. Number one question. Number two, chewing. Excessive or destructive chewing on household items. Warren, I only have left shoes. The dog chewed my right. By the way, let me explain something. I had someone years ago in New York telling me that the dog was chewing their shoes. So my response was, well, what do you do when you see the dog chewing one of your shoes? And they said to me, well, obviously, Warren, it's obvious. I take the shoe away and I give the dog something of his own to play with. I said, sit down. Hear me out on this one. If your dog is chewing your shoe and you take that shoe away from the dog and reward him for something he wants, aren't you teaching the dog that if he wants that reward, all he's got to do is grab one of your shoes? Thumbs up. The answer is yes. So very often with chewing, it's more of an owner problem. Jumping up on people. I get this all the time. I just had a question the other day. Dogs jump up because they're excited. And people yelling at their dogs, get down, stop it, are just getting their dogs more excited. That's where basic training comes into play. That's where distractive training comes into play, which we'll get into in the future. Here's the big one. And I've been talking to you guys, and I love you guys. Because so many of my listeners have rescued and adopted their dogs. You know who you are. Separation anxiety. That's a term a lot of trainers use. And it's true that a lot of dogs suffer with separation anxiety. I bet you half of you listeners had dogs with separation anxiety. But is it always separation anxiety? The answer is no, because so many of you people have adopted and rescued dogs from shelters all across America that when you leave the house, the dog may not be afraid to be by himself. He might be afraid that you're not coming back because that rescue dog perhaps was abandoned before by 1, 2, 3 homes. Many dogs at shelters have been in 2 or 3 homes. So separation anxiety and abandonment issues. They're a little different, but they go hand in hand. Most trainers won't even use the term abandonment issues. With the thousands in my pocket, I can tell you that many dogs, and bless you, rescued, when you leave, just assume you're not coming back. They learn through association, as I said before. Pulling on a leash. People try to make their dog walk at the side all the time. Why? First of all, I don't want my dog peeing on my shoe. That's number one. And number two, when you take your dog for a walk, remember this. He's not taking you for a walk. You're taking him for a walk. It's his walk. Let him sniff. Let him have a good time. But pulling, I understand, is not acceptable. So teaching your dog to walk on a loose leash, that's the way to go. Start basically training your dog, then teach them to walk on a loose leash, and that can stop a lot of fun. How many people call me up? I broke my arm. My dog pulled me, schlepped me down the block. Doesn't have to be that way. Aggression. Most of the aggressive behavior I dealt with over the years, and still deal with to this day, because I still work with a lot of rescues, are dogs that have either been abused, under-socialized, been around other aggressive animals, or that was their only way of surviving, was to be aggressive. Maybe they were being bullied by other dogs and they had to be by a person and they had to show aggression. I worked with dogs that showed aggression towards people because they associated people that looked like that or smelled like that with someone who abused them. There's some more I want to get to you. Excessive barking, digging, all of these are pretty common problems that we deal with on a regular basis. Digging is one of them, you know. My dog's digging holes in my backyard, Warren. It looks like a moonscape. What do I do? What do I do? Trainers tell you to correct the dog, yell at the dog, throw cans at the dog, blah, 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 blah. Here's how you stop it. You cannot teach a dog not to dig, but you can teach a dog where to dig. For example, if you were to go in my backyard, it's an amazing backyard, by the way. It's small, by the way. My yard's real small. But in that backyard, I have a tetherball for the dogs to play with. I have two little kiddie pools. They're filled with sand and they're filled with dirt. And I go in there once in a while when I first started and tease the dogs a little bit. Then I hid some of their toys in there, some of their treats in there. So now when they go in the backyard and they have the urge to dig, they're going into their own sand play or wherever they want to go. But they don't dig them. I have my petunias, okay? I have my petunias, I have my daisies, and they have their own place to dig. So very often, when people try to stop a dog from doing something that is instinctively natural behavior, they create more behavior issues. If your dog's a digger, give him the opportunity to dig. Show him where to dig. Get in there. Show him that you're digging. I know that sounds a little eccentric, and heaven forbid I'm eccentric, but that can make all the difference in the world. All the difference in the world. That's just another one. So digging is another one, and fearfulness, we'll get into that in the future. But we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at too much training, and then I'm going to go to my friend Kat, who has a cat question. Kat with a cat. We'll go to Kat in just a little bit. The phone number 877-725-8255, 877-725-8255. I'm Warren Eckstein. This is The Pet Show. Oh, here, kitty, kitty, kitty. We are back on The Pet Show. I'm Warren Eckstein. 877-725-8255. That's the phone number you can call. I want to take another phone call right now. Speaking about here, kitty, kitty. And I'm reading my computer, and we're getting a call from Kat, who has a cat question. Hey, Kat, welcome to The Pet Show.
I have a question regarding my 3-year-old cat, male cat. He insists on peeing outside the litter box, and I have multiple litter boxes. And even if I keep them clean, he still marks them. Actually, he marks the one in the living room, but the one in my bedroom, he leaves alone. So he basically marks the one that he shares with his brother.
Of all the questions asked on the Pet Show, litter box issues are probably one of the most common. So, Kat, I'm going to help you with your cat. Number one is sometimes keeping a litter box too clean can be an issue as well. Because if it's too clean, they'll find someplace else to have their marking. So how to resolve the litter box issues? Number one, right off the bat, health. Make sure there's no UTI. Make sure there's no problems, no physiological problems. Now, in terms of the cat marking or not using the litter box, if we assume that the cat is healthy and there's no problems, the first thing you look for is any changes in the household. Anything you may have changed or any changes in the behavior of the other cats. You said he had a sibling. What I would be doing at this point, and the fact that he's not peeing in the bedroom, I'm assuming your cats sleep in the bedroom, they're not going to want to pee outside of their box in the bedroom. Cats don't like to hang out or pee where they sleep or where they eat. So here's what we're going to do. Once you've got that clean bill of health, cat, once you've found out all the different locations in the house where the cat is marked, again, we're going to go back to making sure you cleanse those areas properly. Forget ammonia. Forget anything you find in the cupboard because they all contain ammonia. And when a cat marks or pees, it contains ammonia too. So you might as well pee on the floor because you're putting down the same odor. So get a black light, find out all the places the cat is marked. And then what I would be doing at this point is cleaning up all those areas. Once you figured out where the cat has been going, it's imperative that you spend more time with him in those areas. Not only spend more time with him in those areas, but take some of his favorite items, some of his favorite toys. Even groom him in those areas. If you brush him in those areas. And then we can jump to the next step. You heard me say earlier that it's very rare a cat is going to mark or pee where it sleeps or where it eats. So what I would be doing in your case is taking just a little bit of the cat's food, just a drop of it, maybe a thumbnail, and placing it in the areas where the cat has marked. When it goes to those areas, he's going to see his food there, and he's probably not going to want to mark there. I know what you're saying, but then Warren, won't he find another place to mark? Yeah, he will. And if he does, you put some of his food and spend more time with him there. If the cat is healthy, the easiest thing I can do as a behavior research trainer is to resolve this issue. Follow my advice. I promise you, your cat will be back in the litter box in no time at all. I'm Warren Eckstein, and this is The Pet Show.
How come my bulldog don't bark, baby, when big Jim come around?
And we are back on The Pet Show. I'm not going to take another call because we'd run out of time, but I just want to remind everyone that there's a couple of ways you get answers to your pet questions 24/7. Number one, check out and subscribe to my YouTube channel. A lot of great info there. Some are short, some are long. There's a lot of good information there, including litter box issues. It's youtube.com/Warren Eckstein, ECKSTEIN, youtube.com/Warren Eckstein. Also, while you're there, subscribe. It's free. Check out the website. A lot of free info there as well. thepetshow.com. Don't forget that thepetshow.com. So check out YouTube. Check out my Instagram. Check out my Facebook. I share a lot of information there all week long. But remember, every week you can hear me right here on The Pet Show. So if you have questions or comments, give me a call. You can even call during the week. The phone number, 877-725-8255. I'm Warren Eckstein, and thank you once again for listening to The Pet Show.